Keeping your employee well fed and well watered can be difficult in a biotic factor, not to mention keeping them alive from everything that's trying to kill you. But in this video I'm going to show you 4 systems for survival so that you can eventually escape the facility, or live in it forever, whatever you prefer. So first up we have water. You're going to need this for a lot of different things in the game. You're going to need this to stay hydrated, to water your crops, and of course to make delicious soups. My setup for this early on revolves around using 2 water coolers combined with a stove and multiple cooking pots. This setup will also make making soups a lot easier as well. This system works by giving us a refillable water source and a way to keep producing water to top up our water coolers. So the first thing you need to do to set up this system is grab some water coolers from around the facility, then plug them down near a water source. I personally choose to set it up next to the pool. Next you want to gather the resource to make a stove and head to your crafting bench. The ingredients that you need to make a portable stove are a coil, plastic scrap, any pipe, and keyboard. You can get coils and keyboards from smashing up computers in the office areas, and you can get pipes from deconstructing pipes on the walls around levels 1 and 2 of the facility. Plastic scrap you can get from a lot of different sources. Once you've crafted your stove, pop it very close to your 2 water coolers, and then grab yourself 2 cooking pots. These are found in any of the kitchens around the facility, or you can make your own makeshift cooking pot, like this one here. Now to get our renewable water source, all we have to do is pick up our pot, fill it up with tainted water, pop it on the stove, then once that is boiled down, which it will not do unless you plug in your machines, and this will start purifying the water. Once the water has been purified, simply take off your pot and go refill your water cooler like so. As you can see, it only refills the water cooler a little bit, so doing 2 pots at once is probably the best way to do this. And just rinse and repeat this process until you've got some nice full water coolers. This process can take a little while, but you can have a little swim whilst you're waiting for those things to cook. Once you've got your endless supply of water, what do you actually do with it? One of the biggest uses that you're going to be using it for is making soups, which brings us on to the food system. So using the same system, we pop down a pot on our stove, then we get water from our water cooler and fill up an empty pot. Now you just need to figure out the recipes to make certain soups. I've been using 2 pretty solid recipes early on, which you can find in your journal, and then head to the soup recipes section. This will keep a record of all the soups that you've discovered. The 2 soups that I've been using mostly are the meaty stew and the pest goulash. If I'm desperate, I've even been making some bland pea soup, which is not the best. To get the ingredients for these soups, we are going to have to go hunting. Stab a couple of these little guys. Always make sure you're carrying a knife around with you whilst you're hunting for food. Killing these guys will sometimes give you the raw pest and the pest rump. Then to get the peccary chop, we just need to slice up this dude. Then once you've got your 3 ingredients, head back to our cooking pot and plump everything in the pot. Not like that. Be careful not to accidentally put in the wrong ingredient because it will make bad soup. I've done this 1,000 times. The meaty stew consists of a delicious raw alien drumstick, a peccary chop, and not the rotten food that has just spoiled in my inventory this second. Be right back. To deal with these guys, you can just quickly do a 360 no scope. 100% landed that. And finally add your raw pest rump. Now we have uncooked meaty stew, which will take a little while to cook. In the meantime, you could head to a crafting bench and craft yourself the soup bowl. To make the soup bowl, you will need a stapler, glass scrap, a test tube, and metal scrap. But once that is cooked, you will have yourself a delicious bowl of radioactive hedgehog soup. Which you can just take off the stove, pop it down nearby, and top up your newly made soup bowl. Then simply replace the cooking pot on the stove with a new one, and either make a new soup or continue to fill your water coolers. I do usually keep a fridge nearby, but these dudes keep breaking them. So if anyone knows how to stop these guys from destroying my fridges, and literally only my fridges, nothing else gets broken, do let me know in the comments, that would be appreciated. If you're enjoying the video so far, please do consider subscribing to the channel so that you can continue to see me fail at no-scoping creatures and all of the other actual useful Abiotic content I'll be posting. Or if you want to hang out and chat about the game live, I will be streaming it most days on Twitch over at twitch.tv/UGeoxTFT. But anyways, as you can see from the chat logs, we need to move on to the next system, which is combat, and how to survive fighting these creatures. Fighting these guys can be pretty difficult, but one pattern that proves to be effective against most of these guys is just strafing left and right. Strafing left and right will dodge most of the purple plasma juice that these guys try to spray all over us. It will also dodge most of these hedgehog jumps. And it's somehow even effective for dodging bullets from these guys. As you can see, strafing left and right literally turns them into stormtroopers. It also seems to turn their AI into complete morons. Now, although strafing turns you into literally Neo from the Matrix against any of the guys with guns, it's not as effective against these dudes, as you can see from my health bar. But what is effective against these dudes is the trusty throwing net, which you can craft at the crafting bench with just one cloth strap. And you get 3 of these things, so they're very cheap and very effective. As you can see, this locks them up so that you can just poke them with a stick until they die. Under the circumstances that strafing doesn't work and the nets don't work, and you are literally on 1 HP, there are some things that will help. And I recommend carrying these with you whenever you know you're going to be getting involved with some combat. And those things are
God, guns, and sleeping with Siren!
But really, those things are actually bandages and healing syringes. And the vacuum is super fun for dealing with radioactive hedgehogs. To craft the bandages, you simply need some scrap. These things stop bleeding, and if you don't stop bleeding, it will kill you. The healing syringe, on the other hand, will restore lost health over time. To make the healing syringe, we are going to need some antivirus wheat, which you can grab through any of the portal realms, which you will encounter pretty early on, and you're also going to need some bio scrap, as well as some test tubes. Once you got your bandages and your syringes, you are pretty much set to go kill some things. Once you inevitably take some damage, all you gotta do is inject it.
Mama, you got to get me off as monk. As monk is in my house.
And of course, always bring a knife around with you so that you can quickly butcher things up, ready to make some more delicious soups. Then some additional quickfire combat tips. You can sneak up on the tentacle monster things, carbuncles, by crouching, sneaking up to them, and then stomping on their faces. And of course, you can use the electric traps like this to stun creatures. And one final combat tip for dealing with these guys is to build traps. Here's an example of me quickly dispatching of one using the Choppinator. As you can see, you can simply stand here and relax whilst the Choppinator does all the work. Then you can gather all the delicious loot and put it in your fancy new storage system, which we'll talk about later. Once you've killed a bunch of these Cronenberg looking dudes,
we'll fit right in, Cronenberg Morty,
and have explored a lot, you're going to constantly have a full inventory, and storage is going to be a little bit of a nightmare. So this is my system for mitigating some of those problems. First of all, when you're going out to collect different resources, I would take either a broken club or a desk leg to smash things up with. This will save your weapon durability, and you can always replace a desk leg quite easily by disassembling a desk. Next up, you're going to want to craft a platform card cargo. These things have way more storage than just your plain old inventory if you're running around just yourself. And they're kind of fun to steer around. This way, every time you go out to gather resources, you'll be able to pick up way much more stuff, and it won't affect your carry weight as much either. Then once you find things that you need, just start stocking up on them, and then start popping them onto the crate, like so. And like I mentioned, you can use the desk leg to smash 2 things at once, and grab all the good stuff. If your desk leg breaks, then simply disassemble an office desk until it breaks, and then you can get a new desk leg. Or as I mentioned, you can just use a broken weapon to destroy things as well. Once you've got a full platform cart, you can take this back to your base. So the next question is, where do you keep all this stuff? How do you organize this mass amount of crap, basically? My solution is to create a nice little storage room. I personally chose to use the gym locker room early on because it has tons of lockers already that you can use for storage. I'm now using these parts as an overflow for my items, and have since crafted a bunch of these container boxes, which you can name to keep things better organized. So I've tried my best to pick categories to organize these different items. However, I don't think it's perfect, so if you guys have any recommendations on how you categorize your materials, do let me know in the comments. But for now, this is what I've got. So from here, I'll just like to get everything out, and then I don't even need to think about where to place these things because I can just click store all of same type, or queue. And if there's anything that's already in those boxes, it'll fill them up. Some of the categories I found mostly helpful are things like stationery, computer components, and metals, because there's quite a few different metal items in the game. This system here has helped me a ton. Before using this system, my inventory would get so overwhelmed and I would get so confused with where everything was. I would be checking multiple lockers for different materials. So keeping things organized like this will save you so much time in the long run. All you gotta do is set it up, which doesn't take too long. To make the storage crates, all you're going to need is some wooden planks and plastic scraps. Both of these things are pretty accessible, so these things are pretty cheap to make, really. To store different armors and weapons, I am trying to build out a walk-in closet here, but that's a work in progress. But there we have it. Those are 4 systems that I use to keep myself organized and keep myself alive in Abiotic Factor. Do they keep me alive all the time? Absolutely not. I still die way too often in this game, I'm not gonna lie. But I die way less than before I used these systems, so I hope that you find some value in them too. If you have enjoyed this video, please do consider giving it a like, and maybe subscribe to the channel if you want to keep up with my Abiotic shenanigans. But until then, take it easy, and I'll catch you all in the next video.